Hey guys, Will here. So it's been a couple of months now since we took a look at the prototype version of the Bigscreen VR Beyond headset. Now, you guys will remember I was really impressed with that headset, but we did have a couple of questions with regards to specs, build quality and things like that between what we saw with the prototype unit and what we were expecting from the final production units when they shipped out to customers. Now, I'm very happy to say that they've sent us a production unit now to check out. What we're going to be doing in today's video is doing a bit of comparison between the two to let you know what the differences are, what you can expect if you've ordered one or are thinking about ordering one versus what you saw in our initial video. Now, I also just want to quickly mention there are a couple of review videos floating around on YouTube looking at the production models already. Some of those people that have done those videos had earlier prototypes than what we had, and therefore they're saying things like there's a massive difference between the early versions and or the versions that they reviewed and what you're going to be receiving. Now, we received a pretty recent prototype. There's not a massive amount of difference, if any difference, in the actual experience of using the headset. It's all mostly going to be just down to little hardware changes and things like that. We're going to take you through everything today so you know exactly the things that you need to know compared back to our original look at the prototype. By the end of today's video, you should have a really good understanding of whether this particular headset is going to be the one for you. So let's dive in. Okay, so I'll try to keep this as short and to the point as I possibly can today. Firstly, a big thank you to Bigscreen VR for sending across the new, the prototype as well as the production model headsets for us to check out. If you do decide you want to pick up any of the headsets you see in today's video, we will be doing a little bit of cross comparison again back to the Pimax Crystal and the Vario Aero. We've reviewed a bunch of different headsets here on the channel, so you can check those linked down in the description below. But if you want to pick up any of them, we do have affiliate links available for all of them. So that's a really awesome way of helping support our work at no additional cost to you guys if you find what we do here valuable and you want to help us out. So we really do appreciate your support there. But as always, nobody has any sort of inputs. It's all just purely our own observations, our own opinions, and it is as simple as that. So let's start off by diving into a couple of the specs that we kind of glossed over in the initial review just because we weren't sure whether they were locked in for final production. Originally, we were talking about the fact that the headset comes with a custom interpupillary distance or IPD adjustment. So basically, you do a scan of your face, they custom print a face mold, which we'll talk about in more detail in just a minute. But they also customize the positioning of the lenses or the entire screen assembly, in fact, left or right, depending on how far apart your eyes are. So what they've done is they've actually got a selection of 18 different IPD sizes between 55mm and 72mm. So basically they're going to match your measurement and then send you out the headset which is most closely matched to your particular measurement. So again, as we mentioned in the original video, that is something that you will want to consider if you are looking at buying one of these, because obviously it does limit the second-hand sellability of the unit simply because you can't adjust it yourself. So you're going to have to find a buyer that has exactly the same IPD for this headset to be usable. Likewise, if you're looking at doing social VR gatherings, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to share the headset around unless your mates have exactly the same IPD as you do. So just a couple of little things to consider there. If you happen to have people that have the same IPD as you, but obviously just a different face shape, then you can order additional face shields or face gaskets, and that will get you up and running for multiple people. So just a couple of things to note there. So we still have a resolution of 2560 by 2560 per eye. One thing to be aware of though is that native resolution only operates in the 75 Hertz mode. So what they're saying is that for watching movies or TV shows, things like that, you'll be wanting to run in the 75 Hertz mode. If you bump that up to the 90 Hertz mode, then it will downscale the resolution that you actually see. So reduce the sharpness slightly down to 1920 by 1920. So that is done via the onboard hardware upscaler. So what it will do is it will reduce the input resolution down to 1920 by 1920, and then it will upscale that to the native resolution of 2560 by 2560. So what that means for you guys actually using the headset is that text and things like that might be a little bit less sharp, but overall the experience is quite similar. And I didn't see a massive, striking difference between the two of them. Of course, your own scaling settings are going to factor into that as well. So if you're running an even lower scale than that, then obviously factor that in as well. Now, the reason for that, they tell me, is because they're using DisplayPort 1.4 technology. technology, and there's simply a bandwidth limitation there. So if you're wanting to run 90 hertz at that high resolution, they do have to just down that input resolution just to account for the bandwidth differences there. So because it's a mechanical limitation of the DisplayPort technology they're using, I don't think that a firmware update would ever impact that. So I don't think we're going to see that bumped up later on. I could be wrong there, but my inkling would be that it's probably going to be the way it's going to stay longer term. So that is one thing to consider there as well. I do personally prefer running it at the 90 hertz level at the lower resolution. I find 75 hertz does give me a little bit more eye fatigue a little bit more quickly. What I do find though, again, as we mentioned in the original videos, because this thing is so light, I don't find that, you know, I get soreness or anything like that. It's literally just the eye fatigue that I do struggle with. And that's been something that I've struggled with every VR headset that I've ever tested. So I think it's just a limitation of my own eyes. Now they're using exactly the same face shield or face gasket as they were previously as well. You can see that's all 3D printed. One thing that has changed in relation to that compared to some reviews is the field of view. So they're now claiming a field of view on this headset of 102 degrees. Now that will vary depending on your face shape, simply because the throwback distance, or the distance between the surface of your eye or the lens of your eye and the lens of the headset, will vary depending on your face shape. So that's the reason why you might see a little bit of variation there. And some of the early prototype units did actually have a thicker face gasket, which obviously increases that distance and restricts the field of view. So that's the reason why some reviews you might see them saying, oh wow, the field of view is way better now than it was before. In my case, you can see the thickness of the two face shields is actually exactly the same as each other. So there's absolutely no difference there for me in the field of view between the prototype and the production. So I just wanted to make sure that that was absolutely clear for you guys. The printing technology and everything that they're using for these face gaskets is still exactly the same. One little thing that did happen, and I have put quite a number of hours now, probably maybe 20 hours of usage into the prototype unit. One thing we did notice is that the face gasket did actually end up tearing a little bit just in the middle there. These are little magnets that snap onto the back of the unit. So that was one little issue that we had, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't also be an issue on production, simply because the design does appear to be absolutely identical. They may have changed their process in some way, but yeah, I don't see any significant difference there that I could call out, at least anyway. You can see the finish and the quality is all pretty much absolutely identical between the two. So that is one thing that you will just want to be a little bit careful of when you're taking it on and off. You don't want to be grabbing the face shield and potentially tearing it. I was being very careful, but nonetheless, that did happen, so I thought I'd better just point it out to you guys. It doesn't affect the usage, but obviously if it was happening in a corner and peeling away, that might start to create an issue. I'm sure that they'd be replacing that under warranty if it was an issue for anybody anyway, but again, just something to be aware of. So a couple of other things that we weren't quite sure on before as well. The audio strap, which unfortunately we still don't have to test out for you guys, but that is locked in now at $99 US. The little prescription inserts that we weren't sure on pricing before as well, those are locked in at $79 US. So those will be necessary if you do need glasses because there just isn't space to wear this headset over the top of your regular glasses that you might be able to use with some other VR headsets. So factor that in as well. But in terms of the actual experience of being in VR land with it, exactly the same as it was for our prototype that we tested previously. So nothing really to report there at all for you guys, aside from what we covered already in our initial review video. A couple of other things just to mention with regards to the hardware itself. They have made a couple of immediately noticeable refinements to not only how they ship the products, but also how the products are actually presented. So this is the box that they actually ship these with now compared to the prototype box, which was almost twice the size. So good to see that they've reduced the amount of packaging that is required. It did seem a little bit excessive before. Very, very nicely packaged internally as well. Seems like a premium product. Certainly doesn't seem like bootleg or, you know, Kickstarter type thing like you might have expected. So yeah, very well presented and, you know, feels like a very finished and polished product, which of course you would expect for paying this kind of price. In terms of the headset itself, one of the observations we had with the prototype unit originally was that it looked a little bit bootleg internally. Here you could see they actually trimmed with what looks like a Stanley knife or something, the surrounds of the lenses, just to allow you to get your eyes as close to the face as possible. So that looked a little bit dodgy. You could see the outside of the screens here as well, just looked a little bit unfinished. It kind of just looked a little bit like it was a prototype, which it is. So, you know, that's all acceptable in the context. But you can see now with the production unit, if we flip that guy around, very nicely finished there. No more of that scratching or scraping away the surface with a knife. Very, very nicely finished, and all that internal there looks nice as well. So hold the two side by side so you can see again. Hold them up and down like that. Yeah, no complaints there whatsoever. It looks like a finished product, as you would expect. No other differences in terms of the materials that they're using or anything like that. There was a few scratches on the prototype unit when they shipped it to us. This one came absolutely clean with a protective coating over the front as well. So yep, no complaints whatsoever with regards to any of that stuff. The other somewhat major change you could say, although it hasn't really been a significant game changer for me, is they have made a couple of alterations to the strap. So the same basic strap system which wraps around your head. So I might actually install this quickly now for you guys so you can see. So I'll click this side on and show you on the other side. So we simply just click this guy on. These straps do feel a little bit flimsy still. Unfortunately, they haven't changed that design at all. They are obviously trying to keep the weight down as much as they possibly can, so it does make sense having these be plastic rather than metal. As you can see, I haven't broken them in the usage that I've done so far, so it seems to be every bit strong enough. Not a problem at all. One big major change that they have made though is that they do now have a strap which can go over the top of your head. Now, you'll remember in my initial review video, I did say that the sweet spot in terms of the vertical is very, very, very fine. So it does need to be located absolutely perfectly on your face. Because you do have a custom molded face gasket, that is relatively simple. It kind of always wants to sit in the one spot. But if you're going over bumps in a motion simulator or you're moving around vigorously, you may find that it does move around a little bit. I did find that occasionally when I was driving, I had to adjust it just a tiny little bit. What I did do after that review video was experiment even more with the strap and tighten it a little bit more, and that did reduce that to the point where it really hasn't been a significant thing for me at all. But they do now include a strap that goes over the top of your head as well. So the way this works is basically it just loops over the existing strap. So we'll set it up on the other guy here quickly for you so you can see. I honestly didn't find that it made a significant difference for me because I wasn't really having a problem anyway. So what you're going to do is you can see there's some little Velcro pads on both sides. This one is in a fixed position and then this guy is adjustable. So the first side, and it doesn't matter which side you do this, but the first side you're simply just going to flip over like that and stick it on. And then the other side you can go over like so, and then you can adjust it to whatever tension you need for your head shape and size. So I'll just quickly pop this on so you guys can see. So let's chuck the face shield back on. You can see it just sticks on with magnets like so. Take my hat off and let's pop it over my eyes. So we kind of put it on our face in the right position, slide the headband over. I'm just going to tighten that a little bit as well. That's fine. And then the head strap is just going to go over the top. We can tighten that up as well. Like so. So it's all nice and easy to do. I'm probably not even looking at the camera here, but all nice and easy to do blind. You don't have to kind of look at what you're doing. And what that's doing is it's just providing a little bit of additional support so that the headset doesn't bounce around on your eyes. Like I said, it hasn't made a massive difference for me. Certainly, you know, as I said, I wasn't having a major issue with it anyway. So yeah, no issues there. But for some people, that was something that was really important. So if that's something that's important to you, then hopefully that will make a difference. I do find that you want to have a little bit more on the looser side. Having it tight does sort of give the headset a tendency to want to lift up a little bit like that. And then that does let light in through the gasket. So it's just going to be a case of sort of adjusting it and tweaking it to suit your particular body shape. But look, otherwise, in terms of the user experience, as I said, it's pretty much exactly the same. The one thing that I was a little bit disappointed with that I hoped what we might see an improvement with is the internal reflections that we commented on. That was probably the main drawback of using this headset. You know, the restricted field of view compared to some of the competitors aside. So what I mean by that is when you put the headset on, even though you have an insane contrast ratio, given that these are OLED panels, you will see a little bit of glare internally. So if you've got a really high contrast situation with a bright light somewhere in the headset, you are going to see quite a lot of internal reflection there. And I've seen quite a few other reviewers comment on that as well. So it's not something that was specific to my particular usage case. You do adjust to it, but I did find when I was first using the headset, I was kind of adjusting and trying to figure out whether I was doing something wrong or whether maybe my prescription lenses were dirty or something like that. But it does appear to just be a limitation of the headset. So yeah, two limitations are really just the field of view not being quite as big as it is on some other headsets. Although for me personally, personally, I don't find it to be too much of an issue. I can see enough of the road around me in VR land that it's not really an issue. It's just a little bit less immersive than something that has that wider field of view. And really, other than that, it's just the limitations of it being a somewhat passive device. So you don't have things like eye tracking, automatic IPD adjustments, you know, those things that might be important to some people. But the trade-offs there, in my case at least, exactly like I said with the prototype unit, well worth it. And this would be my go-to headset for anything sim racing related, simply because of the weight and you know, just how easy it is to use. There's no software, there's no nothing like that. You literally just boot up Steam VR or OpenVR if you want to, and everything just works straight out of the box. That experience was exactly the same as well. And I think it's as simple as that, guys. I don't want to harp on and make this any longer than it needs to be. User experience, experience of being in VR, exactly the same as it was with the prototype, just those few little hardware changes that I needed you guys to be aware of so that you know exactly what you get in for if you order one of these. And it's as simple as that, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Remember, again, if you do want to pick one of these up, we do have some links available down in the description below, which is an awesome way of helping support our work. But above all, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Let me know down below if you've got any questions. Catch you later. Bye.